I have proof. So an agent requested class that we had was money management. And I'm happy to talk about that in terms of money management because when it comes to money management, I can tell you both sides of the fence. I can tell you what not to do because I've been on that side of the fence. And then I can also tell you some tips on what to do because I've also been on that side of the fence. So the I guess the benefits of having somebody like me talk about things like money management is I could tell you both stories and the good and the bad and things along those lines. Uh, so I have wrote down a bunch of thoughts that we're going to talk about today with money management. Some of the stuff is things you've probably heard before, just like any other training class. Excuse me. Some of it might be like, oh, that's kind of interesting, and some of it might be good reminders or just a different view. Well, apparently, I already lost one person. I haven't even said anything yet. Now, what are you gonna do? See, I pay attention. So, but I have a list of thoughts that I wrote down here in terms of money management. So let's get into this. No particular order of importance. So the first thing I wrote down here on money management is visit your money every week. Visit your money every week. At a minimum, every month. Visit your money. So if you were to do a be honest, and okay, no, you don't have to shout your numbers out because I don't want anyone to feel bad. Okay, but I want you to ask yourself a question is how often do I go and audit my bank accounts or my savings accounts or my stock accounts? My 401k accounts, my TD Ameritrade or Charles Schwab accounts. Okay. How often do I go visit those? How often do I do a little bit of an audit on it? Because for most people, it's not very often. I go visit my bank account whenever it tells me I can't use my card anymore. It doesn't have enough funds or card is maxed out or whatever the case may be. I go look at those types of things. I look at it when the bank calls me. We typically only go look at our money. We look at our accounts. We do an audit of our accounts when something bad is happening. So what I would suggest to do is do a visit your money every week. Go into your checking account, your savings account, and just make sure that everything is proper. Make sure that everything you paid for is on there. Okay. Make sure that there's no potential fraud on there. Okay, or anything along those lines. All right, thank you. Go ahead and remove that though. All right. So make sure that there's no potential fraud on there. But here's the other thing when you go visit your money. Has anyone here, and you could do this, you could do it, be honest here, okay? Ever wondered why your ever felt like your bank account should be higher than it is? Anyone ever run to those types of situations? Okay. When you are not visiting your money, you know that there might be money coming in. Well, I just had a commission. I just had a closing. Or I know I've cashed a few checks. I've done whatever. Why does it feel like my account is never growing? When you go visit your money every week, the one thing you'll start to notice are patterns of, well, mate, where is my money going? So let me share an example with you. I was in this position years ago where I had checks coming in. I had commission checks coming in. They were going to the account, right? So I knew I was making money, but and just never felt like the balance was growing. And so I did a little bit of an audit of my account, and there's no fraud or anything. But what I realized was all the little spending, not big spending, because we account for the big spending. It's all the little spending that adds up. So let me give you an example. So my office was in Beverly Hills. And so we would go to lunch on a pretty regular basis. Now, for those of you that go out to lunch, is it pretty easy to find a lunch for $5? So I'm going to so okay, so I'm going to lunch every, me and the same group of guys, we go have lunch every single day. Well, that's 15, $20 every single day. You're doing that, 20 days a week. You're spending 400, $500 a month just on lunch, right? Now, anyone here ever go to Jamba Juice or Robex or any of the juice places? Okay, so that's just me, right? Well, I don't so much anymore, but I'm a smoothie person. That's what I have for breakfast in the morning, smoothies. Well, I was going to, I wasn't going to Starbucks, I was going to Jamba Juice. Now, Jamba Juice, I went to Jamba Juice the other day. The prices are slightly higher than they were when I was going through this particular exercise, but they're still, five at that time, like $5 or $6 a pop. Okay, well, I'm going to Jamba Juice every day on my way to work. So there's another few $100 every month going to smoothies. This is when I bought a blender. Okay. So my point is there was all these little things that were adding up. And it's like, well, here's my problem. The lunches and the smoothies, there's $1,000 a month just there. God forbid if we go have a drink after work or anything else along those lines. So you got to visit your money every week. Okay. You got to make sure that the spending is accurate. You have to make sure that the money is growing. So here's the other thing. Anyone here have or had little kids? Okay. Did you do the thing where you get like you have them stand against the wall of the door and have the pencil on their height, right? You have that. Okay. You should be doing the same thing with your accounts. I remember when you were down here and now you're here and now you're here, right? But you can only do that if you're visiting it every week. So I know I spent a lot of time on this one particular thing, but I got to tell you, this is one of the most important money management things you do is visit your money every week. All accounts, checking, savings, stock accounts, got to visit your money every single week. One of the most important things you can do. All right, I wrote down here next on money management. Sit down, block out an hour of your day, one day, sit down and create a budget. Don't just talk about a budget. Don't just have an idea of kind of what your expenses are. You need to sit down for an hour and really write down all of the expenses to the penny as close as you can get. Okay. Because you go, well, the phone's around 100. This is around this. This is around this. No, no, no. You can't create a budget with arounds. Okay. Who here is expressive by nature? Oh, all of a sudden, some shy folks in this room, huh? When it comes to talking about money. I know some of you are. For
Neil told me
expressives,
I
this
am
this is the
expressive.
most difficult. This is difficult for expressives. Okay. Who here is analytical? You're going to love this exercise. The phone bill is $111.03 every single month, except in December, it goes up to 4 cents because it just has to round out that. You got to sit down and create a budget. You got to know exactly all your expenses. So, and I mean, to everything that you're spending on, right? The water bill, the phone bill, the rent, the mortgage payment, the insurance. You got to lay it all out and figure out what are my expenses, okay, to the penny, as close as you can get to. I understand some fluctuate, right? Some of the utilities fluctuate, but your utilities are typically around the same price, right? So a little wiggle room there. I would suggest when you're budgeting and you have something like utilities that can fluctuate every month, take the highest month. Okay. During the summer, probably a better chance the air conditioning is going to be running rather than the winter, right? So don't look at your when, whoa, I'm budgeting. Well, our air conditioning bill for December is not that much. Like, yeah, but that's not a fair budget because in June in Hemet, it's going to be slightly different. Okay. So take the highest month on your utilities or anything that fluctuates. Write down all of your expenses and then be honest about roughly what your average income is per month. I understand as an independent contractor, that's tough because you don't have a guaranteed paycheck, right? But really write out how much money do we need to make to cover the bills? Okay. How much money do we need to make to really cover the bills? And then start expanding from there of, okay, well, what excess money do we have? I know we like to go to the dinners. I know we like to go do this. Do we have it in the budget? Okay, so you need to really sit down and create that. Otherwise, you don't know what you can spend. You don't know what you can't spend, and all you're doing is spending. Okay. Or vice versa. You might be able to go enjoy things a little bit more. You don't even realize it. Okay. Oh, I can't, I know my friends are going to this really nice restaurant, but gosh, it's like $50 a steak, and then the potatoes are different. This is gonna be like a $150 meal. I can't do that. And then you're like, well, no, actually, it's in my budget. I can do that once a week, once a month, whatever the case may be. You can budget those things out. So you got to sit down, but you got to take this seriously. If you don't take it seriously, it's not going to work. That's why I said you got to block out an hour and make sure whoever is involved in your budget is with you. Because if you're married and one person creates a budget and the other one is not a part of that budget, is that going to work? No, no, it's not going to work. Especially if the person who's not a part of the budget is the shopper. Okay. Now we have a budget, which is great. But boy, I tell you, the Amazon truck just circles around our house like a vulture because they know the hotel's got something coming. We're just waiting for them to click complete order, right? So if you have people that are shoppers, it's really important. Like, no, 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 you need to be with me. Of all people, you need to be with me on this budget. Okay, so sit down, create a budget, right? Now, here's what's really important on the budgeting part as an independent contractor. Well, let me ask you a question. When we're talking about being an independent contractor and you're creating a budget with looking at the money you make, what is a really, 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 really important thing to consider as an independent contractor?
Taxes.
Taxes! You don't get taxed. So I'm just going to make sure everybody knows this. When you receive a paycheck from Century 21 Masters, we did not take the taxes out. I'm just making sure we're clear. Okay, you're an independent contractor. You get a 1099. You have to allocate for taxes. So when you're doing your budget, you have to make sure that's part of the budget, okay, of what are the taxes going to be like? What are the implications of the money we're making? Which brings me to my next point. What I would suggest is do a review with your accountant every quarter or minimum every 6 months. Okay, do a review with your accountant every quarter, minimum every 6 months, to make sure that you are in line, that you know where you stand in terms of taxes owed. Okay, because I don't know if anyone's ever been in this situation other than me. Okay, because remember I told you at the very beginning, I'm a perfect person to talk about money management because I can tell you all the bad and I can tell you the good. All right. So I don't know if anyone else has been in a situation like me, as an independent contractor and taking that 1099 to the accountant and then saying, great, you owe this, and me going, that's more than I thought. That's more than that's I wasn't prepared to write a check for that amount today. Okay. Nobody else raised their hand. Okay, Robert's gonna take the heat on this one. Okay. So visit with the accountant quarterly. Hey, here's what I've made in the first quarter. Based on this, where am I going to be at with my taxes? Okay, you should probably, what you've made, you're on pace to pay about this much. So make sure you take out this much. Got it. So now after the first quarter, I've got this amount put into a savings account for taxes. Second quarter comes in. Hey, this is what I made for the first 6 months. Where am I at? So now each quarter, I'm stockpiling my money. I know where I'm at in terms of my taxes. Okay, so make sure you're doing that every quarter. Again, minimum every 6 months, but I would recommend every quarter because if you're doing it every 6 months, you're really only doing it once a year because then at the end of the year, you're doing the taxes. The quarter, you can balance it a little bit better. So I would set an appointment with your accountant. They even have in some, I know that they've done this in the past. We never signed up for it, not for any particular reason, but they have it to where you can actually send quarterly tax payments to the IRS if you want to. So there's things you could do with it, but at minimum, have a quarterly meeting with your accountant to know where you stand in terms of your money, so you understand the taxes and the implications and things like that. All right. And you can also start talking about deductions earlier. Okay, because the rules change all the time. So there might be things you can deduct, might be things you can't. So the first quarter, okay, hopefully everybody goes to their accountant the first quarter and your accountant goes, I have wonderful news. You owe a crap ton of taxes. And you should go, yes. The goal is to pay more because I can't pay more if I didn't make more. All right. So that's what people, I always get excited when the accountant gives me a giant tax bill. Like, look at us. All right. We're doing something right. But at that same time, if you have a really great first quarter, second quarter, whatever, the accountant can start talking, hey, look, you got, you're on pace to, make a lot more money than you normally make. And it's going to put you in a different bracket, which means you're going to pay this many taxes. So let's talk about maybe some deductions to start looking at. Okay. So you could have some better meetings with things along those lines. So make sure you're doing that, allocating for taxes. But here's what I wrote down outside of that when you're looking at your money is open up a savings account, open up at least one savings account that a certain percentage of your money goes to every single month. I'm not going to give you an exact amount, okay? Because some people will say, oh, 20% should go to savings, 18% this amount. You figure out whatever the amount is. But you need to make sure that every single paycheck has money going to savings. The paycheck can't go to the checking account. You can't, the checking account is only to pay bills. Okay? Why do you think why do you think we don't want money just going to the checking account?
Because we spend it.
You'll spend it. Thank you. Okay? So don't just, all right, hey, money's going, I put the money in the checking account. No, 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 no. The checking account is only to pay your bills. That's it. Yeah, the rest of that money goes into a savings account. Okay? Okay, you gotta put whatever that percentage is, but be consistent with it. I can't give you a percentage because everyone's also in a different financial position. Some people could put, hey, we already have some, we're pretty good on our bills, so we could put 25% of our paycheck into savings. Some of you might be 5%. Okay, so there's no right or wrong answer, but you got to put some money into the savings account every single paycheck. All right. So make sure you're doing that. So make sure you have one savings account for that. I would also recommend opening up a second savings account. Okay. The second savings account is your fun account. Okay. The first savings account is if things go bad, I've got my savings. Okay. If all hell breaks loose, I got my savings. But you need a fun account. Okay. Because if you're just making money and paying bills and saving for a rainy day, you're going to stop making money. Okay. That's not going to work. Just won't. Okay, we're human beings. We need to be entertained. We need to enjoy what we're doing. Otherwise, why are you going to go prospect? Makes no sense. Okay. So you need to open up a second savings account, which could be a fun account. Okay. And so you need a certain percentage of your money going to your rainy day savings account and a certain percentage of your money going to your fun account. Don't mix the two. Okay. You got to have two separate accounts, but make sure you have that fun account. And that fun account could be anything. You could be saving for a vacation. You could be saving for a car. You could be saving for whatever. But you got to have that second account. And each paycheck, got to have money goes to checking to pay the bills. You got to have some money that goes to the savings for a rainy day. And you got to have some money that goes to the fun account. Okay. Now, groceries and things like that, gas, that counts as bills. Okay. So that's checking account money. Okay. Anything that you're paying for a product, goods, or services, that's checking account money. Okay. Everything else goes to savings. Now, the fourth thing, well, I guess taxes are one. Obviously, you're allocating that. You have your savings account, you have your second savings account. Now, the fourth thing is kind of an optional thing, depends on what your investment strategies are. Okay, so if you like investing in stocks, bonds, or things like that, then you're going to need that fourth account where you got to put some money in there to be able to spend on some investment to reinvest the money. Okay, but that's for people, or that you only need the third savings or the third separate account. Because like for me, I don't have a separate savings account for that because my with Charles Schwab, which is where I do all my investments, they just have an account, so I just move money into that account and then I make my investments and things like that. Um, so it's not a savings account that's at a bank, per se. It just goes into a Charles Schwab account that allows me to do all that stuff. So if you're going to invest in that, then you guys got to allocate that. So but this is all part of the budgeting stuff. When a check comes in, what's going to this account? What's going to that account? Because if it's just a cluster and it's just all going to the checking account or some of it goes to savings, you're not going to grow, right? There's no structure in place. Okay, we're managing money, but we want to make money. We want to have a plan. These are all things that help you have a plan. All right, so we talked about the budgeting, we talked about the emergency fund, we talked about savings. The other thing I just wrote down here, because I get this question sometimes with my management, well, how much money should we have in the emergency fund before we start putting more money towards, a different savings account or things like that? That's really up to you. Okay. The reason it's up to you because part of money management is risk assessment. So here's what I mean. So for some people, you're not going to feel comfortable until you have 6 months reserves in your rainy day fund. Some of you, it's 12 months. Some of you, it's 2 months. Okay. So I can't say hey, here's an answer for you. It's all about risk assessment. If you're more of a risk person, then you could do 2 months in a rainy day account and then put the rest of the money into other investments, other ventures, and try to make more money that way. That was me. Okay. I'm more of a high risk individual. That's why I like stocks. Okay. That's where most of my money actually has been made. Um, I like that. I like the gambling aspect of it. Okay. My wife hates it. She hates it. Okay. It's like, no, we're not reinvesting anything until we've got 12 months in the rainy day fund. Okay. Where if we somehow lost everything, we could still pay the mortgage and all that stuff. So everybody's different. So you have to figure out what's best for you. It just depends on your risk assessment. Okay. How risky do you want to be before you start reinvesting, before you start doing other types of things? So there's no right or wrong answer on how many months of emergency fund, rainy day fund, whatever you want to do. All right. Next thing I wrote down here on money management kind of leads into what I was just talking about is investing. Okay, investing. So, well, this would be kind of fun. Who would consider themselves someone that's willing to do high risk investments? Okay, who is someone that would prefer more low risk protected investments? Okay, got it. So and some of you are figuring it out, which is what most of investing is you're trying to figure it out, or maybe you're into a little bit of both.
We are not that risky as you are.
No, and I would never recommend people. I've had people ask me, hey, could you do a class on stocks? I'm like, no, nope, no, 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 no. Well, why not? That's where you've made most of your money. Yeah, but I'm not taking responsibility if it goes bad. I'm not gonna do that. And I would actually, for me, it works. Okay. It's worked out very nicely for me, but I would not recommend it for most people because of that. So here's what I would say. Okay. Because part of money management, you got to start thinking about where you're going to be investing in portfolios and things like that. If you're willing to do risk, stocks are great. Okay. Things along those lines because you could you could start really low, really low amounts. And if the stock hits, then you can make some money off of that. And there's a variety of different things. There's options, there's negative options, there's things like that. Because you can make money when people are losing money by a negative option. We can get into a whole thing about this. Okay. But it is far more risky because you might be the one with the stock that all of a sudden the company you didn't even realize, wow, bankruptcy, and then you're screwed. So here's my only advice to you. Okay. The best advice I can ever give you if you want to do risky investments, which is in stocks, is follow the money. So here's what I mean. Every company you can access who is selling stocks, how much stock do people own, and things like that. So, well, I want to buy stock in Apple. Well, you better check to see what the CEO is doing with his Apple stock before you decide to buy stock. Because if the CEO just sold a bunch of stock in Apple, I would follow the money and not buy any stock in Apple. Or if I had stock in Apple, sell it. Okay. So the best thing you can do with stocks, if you want to do more risk, is follow the money. Okay. You're never going to catch these people in terms of money. So just follow them. It's okay. All right. Now, if you're more conservative in terms of your investment style, where you might want to start managing some money or maybe look into other things, is obviously real estate. Okay. Neil does a great class on that, on investing in real estate. Real estate is probably the most secure investment, especially when you're talking about Southern California. Okay. So very secure as far as real estate goes. That's probably number one. If you wanted to get out of real estate, don't do individual stocks, do like the stock market, because you don't have to invest in individual stocks. You can just invest in the stock market. And the stock market over time has gone up. Now, there are days it goes down 500 points and then up 500 points. But if you're in the long run, if you were to look at the stock market over time, it eventually just goes up. So it's a little more secure in terms of that. If you just invest in the market as a whole, the return isn't as great, but it's a more secure investment. So you can look at some of those types of things. So as from a security standpoint, that might be types of things. Commodities, I would be cautious of because of commodities are weird. Gold, silver, things like that. Okay. It's very high fluctuations. So it's not a bad thing because gold, I mean, everything's more expensive now than what it was before. So if you invested in gold 20 years ago, you'd have more money today, right? But don't necessarily consider it a safe investment because the commodities fluctuate a lot. So if you're more cautious, I would look more the real estate route, looking for the investments as a whole, or work with a financial advisor, kind of put your money in like a portfolio. I would probably get away from REITs, which are real estate investment trusts. Those, I think your money is better spent somewhere else. Okay. So there's some things to look at depending on your investment strategy. If you're really, really high risk, I would recommend Vegas if you really want to play the risky part. All on black, of course, right? I'm always in all black. So it's the only way I play roulette. Nobody said this can't be fun. All right, good stuff. Okay, so I wrote down here next a few more points here on money management. Retirement planning. Retirement planning. Now, I know all of you want to be prospecting until you're 80. I know that. Well aware, right? Everybody wants to be hitting up expireds at 7:30 when you're 80 years old. Just gave Justin heart palpitations. Door knocking, just listed, just sold. Hello. Hello. Oh, yeah. But see, it's fun, it's laughing, but if you don't have retirement planning, You're gonna have to do something. Okay, you're gonna have to do something. So you need to start thinking about when it comes to money management is you need to have a plan. But the plan when it comes to retirement planning is what is your definition of retirement? Okay? Because where people fail in retirement planning, okay, and I only know this, I'm not near retirement age, but I know this because of the amount of people I've dealt with and the amount of different stuff that I've worked with and all these other people I've coached and done all this stuff with over the years. Most people don't plan for retirement because they don't really have a definition of what retirement is. So, is your retirement that no, I'm done. Like, I'm not working at all. I'm living off what we got. Okay, that's a different level. So now you really need to figure out how much money is that going to take, which means you got to start going back to that expense sheet that we talked about. Okay, can we afford to keep? If we want to, is this our forever home? We're going to die in this house, right? Anyone ever heard that prospect? I'm going to die in this house. Okay, well, is if that's you, then you need to. Then the bills don't change, the utility bills don't change, the taxes are only going to get higher, the insurance is only going to get higher. So you have to start thinking about, okay, I want to retire at 65. And when I mean retire, I'm not working, I'm done. Okay. Well, the average age of a person are people living longer or shorter? Longer, right? So you have to start factoring that in. This isn't 1964 where the average, people didn't get their retirements till they were 65 and the average person lived to 66. It was like, I don't need a plan for retirement. I'm going to have retirement for a year and die. What am I planning for? Okay. Spend it when we got it. Okay. Well, people are living longer now, which means you might have to start rethinking about what is retirement age. Do I want to just totally be cut off for retirement, or do I want to have some sort of job to keep myself busy? Right. So we're not going to dive too much into retirement. That's more something you got to talk with like maybe a financial advisor on your retirement plan. But what I would just say is from a money management retiring is you got to really think about what does retirement mean to you? What is the age? What am I going to do with retirement? And then here's the biggest thing. What do I need to have completed before I feel comfortable retiring? Okay. So let me give you an example. My father-in-law has this, he's been talking about retirement since the day I met him. And I mean, he just can't wait. But he knows he can't retire until the house is paid off. Okay. He can't retire until the cars are paid off. He can't retire until this, and this, and this. Like there's certain things need to come. It's not like, hey, you know what? I'm 60, whatever. I get my social security now. I'm retired. No, no, no. He knows he's got to have some certain things done. So you got to start thinking about that. Okay. Because it happens fast. It happens fast. And you don't want to get to 65, 70 years old and then go, gosh, I'm going to need this much more to retire. I'm going to have to really crank the prospecting up now. No, 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 no. You got to start making the money now. Okay. So you have to start thinking about that retirement, but talk with more someone that does more financial planning. I'm not financial retirement planning, because then there's 401ks, there's life insurance policies, there's a variety of different things, but you got to start thinking about what retirement means to you. All right. Same thing. I'm not going to get into this type of stuff, but things that you need to start looking at in terms of money management. Yeah, it's morbid. We got to talk about it, right? Estate planning, tax planning, wills, okay, things along those lines. Not going to spend any time on that, but those are things that you need to start having covered in terms of your money management. Now, some of you might be going, well, Robert, what the hell do I care? I'm dead. That's not my problem anymore. Right? I got a feeling that's what's waiting for me. My dad's gonna be like, I left you a house. The garage is filled with crap for 80 years. Thanks. Merry Christmas. Thanks, Dad. All right. And then I'm have a brother and sister wanting their piece. It's gonna be a disaster. I hope I go first. Anyways. Anyways, right. But you need to start thinking about that stuff, right? Estate planning, tax planning, wills, stuff like that. Okay. But talk to more experts in those particular fields because you want to make sure it's getting done correctly. The one thing I will tell you in terms of that type of stuff is you really need to make sure that whoever you're talking to help you with that stuff, and most people are perfectly fine, like there's no right or wrong person, but make sure that you really understand what's going to happen with the estate, with the taxes, with the wills and all that stuff. Make sure you really understand that because sometimes people, oh well, no, we've got a will, okay. They don't really understand what that means. They don't really understand how that's going to work, right? So make sure and there's no right or wrong answer, okay? But you just make sure that you fully understand so you're getting exactly what you want. All right, very good. Couple more points here I wrote down here on money management. I wrote down here next on money management. This kind of goes along the lines with budgeting, but you need to review lifestyle choices, okay, things along those lines with your money and start really deciding what do I really want my money to go to in terms of my lifestyle choices. And then ideally cut out the things that aren't really that important to you. Okay? Because one of the things that crushes money management is money going places that aren't really that impactful. So let me give you an example. During COVID, were there food delivery services that made a fortune? Okay. For some of you, you haven't gotten rid of those. And you have to start thinking about, do I really need to keep paying for this? Or can we just go back to going to pick up the food ourselves or going to the store ourselves? Because that's just wasted. Because that was us, right? Full disclosure, that was us, right? My wife was very cautious during the COVID time. I'm obviously, again, the risk taker. So, you can't hurt me, right? But she wanted more of the food delivery services. Well, we got to a point where it's like, okay, why are we still ordering this? Because we're getting food that's somewhat colder when we get it, but we're not getting a discount on it, and we're paying all this, and we're tippers, right? So I'm not gonna have somebody drive over for a $3 tip, so we give them, this. And it's like this is just wasted money. Like we're not really enjoying the food, it's just wasted money. That money could go somewhere else, right? You can't have wasted money in money management. So look at your lifestyle choices and think about what do I really like? Okay. Let me give you another example. Okay. Is well, I really like spending money. I've had this gym membership for X amount of years. Okay. Do you like going there? No. Okay, well then just create like a home gym. Doesn't cost much money to get some resistance bands, a treadmill, something along those lines, right? So if you don't like going somewhere, stop paying to go there. Okay. You can't have wasted money. So look at your lifestyle choices and cut out anything that you don't really enjoy doing. It's a monthly expense or something that you're still doing, but it's like, oh, we don't need that. Get rid of that. Move that money somewhere else. Put it into a savings account. Put it into your fund savings account. Reinvest it into something else. Okay. But look at those lifestyle choices. Same thing with me with smoothies. Like I love smoothies, but it doesn't have to be a Jamba Juice smoothie. I make fine smoothies at house. It's like, okay, great. So cut out the Jamba Juice smoothies. All right. Same thing with coffee. Be honest. Who here has had a caramel brulee latte since it came out at Starbucks a couple of weeks ago? Liars!
Me,
Peppermint.
People love it. I realize, and I was always a sucker, right? Not a sucker like it's a bad thing, but for me personally, I would always, yeah, I know we got to go get it. I realized I just liked regular coffee more than anything else. The only thing I like The only thing I like going to like Starbucks is I love cold brews. Cold brews are my thing. Okay. But I don't like all the flavored coffee. So it's like, why am I going to spend that there? Okay. Now you should go do that stuff if you like it. But I'm saying like cut out the things that you can't have any loose money. You can't have any wasted money management. It's just too important. Okay. All right. Last couple things I wrote down here because we've already covered quite a bit on some of this stuff. I wrote this down. This is more of an opinion. Okay. I know I don't normally share opinions, but I'm going to give you an opinion. Okay. On money management stuff. It's important, but don't take it so seriously that you don't have any fun. So I got into a discussion with somebody recently. Well, you can call it a discussion. I kind of called them out on something. You've probably seen this on social media where people go, well, that $5 cup of coffee, if you just reinvested that $5 every day, this, and this. Now, should have left it alone. Didn't. So I replied back to this person and I said, oh, I am so sorry that I bust my ass every day, but I'm not allowed to go have a goddamn cup of coffee if I want to. Like, I hate when people do that with money management. Oh, you shouldn't go have this coffee. What if I like the coffee? I can't go have it? Why would you go pay for this type of a steak? I'm not allowed to go have it. I work hard. See, some of these people, they talk about money management online and stuff like that, and they make it seem like you're not allowed to go have any fun. You're not allowed to go have a coffee. You're not allowed to go have dinner or lunch or things like that. You got to be, you got to understand it. But I got to tell you, when it comes to money management, you gotta have a plan. But part of that plan is you got to reward yourself too. So don't take money management so much to the point to where it's like, God, I really want a caramel brulee latte. They're so freaking good, and they only come around once a year. But boy, that guy on social media said, "God, it's $5 for a cup of coffee if you invested $5 a day." I don't f that guy. See how well I'm working on my cursing. So you have to take it seriously, but you gotta go have some fun. You gotta reward yourself too. If you want to go have a iced coffee, have an iced coffee. Here's one of the things I'll leave you with, right? When it comes to it's all about what you can and cannot afford. And one of my favorite quotes on money management all time comes from Charles Barkley. Okay. For those of you that don't know who Charles Barkley is, he was a basketball player, he's a Hall of Famer. He is also a notorious gambler. Okay. So, but he's made millions of dollars playing basketball and he's made millions, way more millions after basketball with his TV shows and stuff like that. So but he's a notorious gambler. So they asked him one time, and they said, you know, well, what do you have to say about your gambling problem? And he said, well, it's not a problem if you can afford it. And I went, that is one of the best money management quotes I've ever heard in my entire life. Because the reality is you have to be frugal. You have to know your chances. Yeah, Charles Barkley is not a tipper. You're right. Okay. You have to be frugal. You have to know these types of things. But if you can afford it, you have some fun. Go get your coffee. Go do whatever it is that you want to do. All right. So money management is important, but you gotta don't stress yourself out. Don't make it to where it's not fun making money. Making money is supposed to be fun. Okay. I have one little story though on the Charles Barkley tipping thing. So the person that's probably worse tipper than Charles Barkley is Michael Jordan, who happens to be my idol, which is one thing that him and I don't agree on. So Charles Barkley, Tiger Woods, and Michael Jordan were golfing. So they're leaving. Tiger Woods tells the story that they're leaving the golf course and there's a homeless guy there and he says, "Can you spare some change?" So now Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan are billionaires, the B. Okay. And Charles Barkley is 100 millionaire. Okay. These guys got money. Tiger Woods gives the guy some money, right? Charles gives some money. Jordan just walks by. So they both look at him and go, "You actually have more money than both of us combined. Why didn't you give the guy any money?" And Jordan goes, If he has enough knowledge to say, can you spare me some change? He has enough knowledge to say, would you like fries with your order? And I was like, there you go. So just a fun little story on the tipping aspect of Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan. So there you go. Questions on anything we went over today? We could talk about money management for a week on these classes, but I just wanted to highlight at least a few key points I thought. Questions on anything we talked about? All
Thanks,
right.
Robert.
Hey, you're welcome.
Love your
All right, everybody.
anecdotes.
Hopefully you got something out of this and a couple of key points or whatnot. Like I said, I'm more than happy to answer more questions on some of this stuff. I've lost tons of money on money management before, and I've made money, so my experience is good and bad. I will share with you the worst investment I ever made was when the market crashed in 2009. I got in with some people that bought a bunch of homes in Ohio for like, because you could buy them for like $10,000, you know? And God, I hated having homes that were so far away. And I just could not. I hated it so much. I took my money out of it, even though we were at a loss at the point. I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I know other people probably do it, but we put a pool of funds together, and it was like, oh, we could buy like 50 homes in Ohio, like $10,000 a pop. Sure. God, I hated it. That was a really bad investment for me. Other people it might work, but I just hated it. So I got good stories and bad stories. All fun stuff. All fun stuff. All right, everybody. That's all I
Thank you,
got. Hopefully you
Robert.
got something out of this. If you need anything from me, let me know. Reminder, tomorrow, 12:15, we're doing our
Robert.
2024 market forecast. So I'm going to go over some really good stuff as far as that goes, answer some questions, tell you what we're expecting in the marketplace.